Marxian stages of economic growth. Marx's analysis of stages of growth is based on his materialistic interpretation of history, in which he attempts to show that all historical events are resulted of a continuous struggle between different classes and groups in the society. According to him, the main cause of his struggle is the conflict between mode of production and relations of production. Karl Marx introduced the theory of stages of economic development, which complemented his theory of class struggle. He categorized economic evolution into 5 stages: primitive communalism and slavery, feudal system, capitalism, and socialist society. These are the main 5 stages of economic evolution by Karl Marx. First stage is primitive communal stage. It's the first stage of evolution of society. During this primitive communal stage, man learned to cultivate crops, raise livestock, and make fire. The development of new tools and implements increased the productivity of labor in this stage. Gradually, the barter system began to develop when people started to exchange the product and pay for work in kind. In this process of evolution, some producers began to produce more product than required for their substance. The appropriation of the surplus produce provided scope for exploitation of others. This paved the way for emergence of the slavery and slave society. And the second stage is slavery or slave stage. In this stage, the development of productive forces was based on the corresponding production relations. In these relations, the slave owners owned both the means of production and the slave along with his produce. Gradually, with improved tools, implements, and irrigation facilities, labor productivity in agriculture increased in this stage. Or mining, weapon making, shipbuilding, and cloth weaving also developed. This led to a growth of trade and commerce, and new towns also grown up. However, there existed domination and exploitation of slaves by few slave owners. For some times, slaves were used as a main productive force. But with the passage of time, the slave society's class struggle led to a conflict between the productive forces and the production relations. As a result, the exploited slaves rose against their enslavers, which put an end to the entire structure of the slave society, and its ruins emerged the feudalism. The feudal stage, this is the third stage. In the feudal stage, the development of productive forces was based on the feudal production relation, where the feudal lord owned the land and the serfs were main agents of the production. This is a stage of feudalism. The feudal lords own the land and serfs are the main agents of production. The serfs worked like slaves for the landlord. Productive forces continued to develop and there was an increase in the productivity of agriculture, textiles and paper manufacturing units, etc. This led to a more intensive division of labor and specialization, leading to higher labor productivity. The manufacturing process further developed with growing demand for the manufactured goods. But feudalism gave rise to two types of class struggle. First one is between the serfs and the feudal lords. And second one is between the proletariats and urban bourgeoisie. The feudalism gave rise to two types of class struggle. First between the serfs and feudal lords. And second between the proletariats and the urban bourgeoisie. This led to the revolution which replaced the feudal relations of production with capitalist system. Next, capitalist state. In this society, the capitalist owns the means of production and uses them for profit. The labor had to work for the capitalist and sells his labor power. The laborer was the poor and his labor was perishable. In the bargain process, he was helpless. The capitalists who exploited them mercilessly. Thus, the capitalist forces the laborer to work for long hours. He is paid only the subsistence wage, and for extra hours he works, he receives nothing. Marx called it surplus labor. It is surplus labor. And this leads to surplus value, which increases the profit of the capitalist. Okay. The capitalist forces the laborers to work for longer hours and he paid only the subsistence wage. And for extra works, the labor receives nothing. Marx called it as surplus labor. This leads to a surplus value, which increases the profit of the capitalist society. Gradually, to raise the surplus value or profit, capitalist brings about the technological changes, which increases the productivity of labor and increases the output with a lower cost of production. To increase the profit or surplus value, capitalist brings more technological changes which increases the productivity of labor and increase the output with a lower cost of production. In this stage, the emergence of big enterprises called monopolies introduced labor-saving machines to replace labor in order to earn higher profit. In the stage of capitalism, there will be an emergence of big enterprises. We can call it as monopolies. They introduced labor saving machines and replaced the labor in order to earn higher profit. This process of replacing labor by machines created industrial reserve army. That is the unemployed workers, which increases with the growth of capitalism. This unemployed laborers is called industrialized reserve army. Ultimately, capitalism leads to the class struggle between proletariat and the bourgeoisie. This is the economic basis for the revolutionary transformation from capitalism to socialism. And this is the last stage, the socialist or communist stage. The last stage is communism, which is brought about by the proletarian revolution, whereby dictatorship of proletarians is established. According to Marx, in this stage, the state will wither away, and each individual will contribute to the national product according to his ability and receive according to his needs. Under the socialist system, the means of production are owned and regulated by the state. There is no class struggle. Neither the exploiter nor the exploited exist. The entire production and distribution is controlled and regulated by the Central Planning Authority for public welfare. This is the last stage of Marxian evolution of development. Thank you.